Welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to be exploring our amazing blue planet and discovering how the ocean isn't just some static body of water. No, it's a vast, living entity that actively sustains literally all terrestrial life on Earth.
Let's actually kick things off with this brilliant quote from Jules Verne. Back in 1870, he observed that while the ocean might look like this immense, empty desert to the naked eye, a traveler is never truly lonely out there because life is constantly stirring all around them. It perfectly sets the stage for our understanding today. The globe began with the ocean, and its breath is pure, healthy, and absolutely vital to our existence.
Okay, here's our roadmap for today. 1. Earth, the blue planet. 2. Oceans and continents. 3. The planet's lungs. 4. Power, peril, and legends. And finally, 5. Protecting our marine world.
Let's jump right into Section 1, Earth, the blue planet. We're going to understand our global water distribution.
When you break down the raw numbers, it is totally obvious why early astronauts lovingly called Earth the blue planet. With almost 3/4 of its surface covered in water and just 1/4 being land, this massive blue reservoir completely dictates the climate, the weather, and the overall habitability of that tiny slice we call home.
But you know, this distribution of land and water is actually pretty unequal. If you were to look at the globe from the top down, the northern hemisphere contains a significantly higher proportion of our planet's land masses. Conversely, the southern hemisphere is completely dominated by vast, sweeping oceans, with way less land to break up those massive currents.
Moving right along to Section 2, Oceans, Continents, and Islands. Let's define these geographic building blocks.
So, for your study guide, we define a continent as a massive, continuous landmass. But keep in mind, continents don't just exist in a vacuum. These huge bodies of land interact directly with the surrounding oceans to shape our global climate. The everyday interplay between these massive chunks of rock and the water around them affects all plants, animals, and honestly, all of human history.
Now, while the 7-continent model is what most of us learn in school, scientists and historians actually count continents in a bunch of different ways, depending on geological and cultural evolution. For instance, geologists often look at Europe and Asia as a single landmass called Eurasia, which brings the count down to 6. And actually, if you group North and South America together, you get 5 continents. That's exactly why the Olympic rings feature exactly 5 interlocking rings, representing the inhabited continents coming together.
On the flip side, an ocean is our largest water body. But here's the crucial point. While we give them all these different names on a map, those boundaries are completely made up by humans. The natural world doesn't care about our borders. Seawater is constantly flowing globally, sustaining this incredibly rich, interconnected web of marine life across the entire planet.
We generally break down the 5 major oceans by their relative size and hemisphere location. The Pacific is the undisputed giant here. It's followed by the Atlantic and then the Indian Ocean, which is notably bounded by Asia, Africa, and Australia. Then we've got the Southern Ocean surrounding Antarctica, and finally the Arctic Ocean up in the far north.
And of course, beyond our massive continents, we have islands. These are simply smaller land masses completely surrounded by water on all sides. There are literally hundreds of thousands of islands across the globe, with Greenland officially holding the heavyweight title as the world's largest island. Just to put that into a local perspective, India alone has over 1,300 small islands. This includes major groupings like the stunning Andaman and Nicobar Islands in the Bay of Bengal and the Lakshadweep Islands in the Arabian Sea. These island ecosystems are incredibly unique geographic features, and they are heavily influenced by the oceans that isolate them.
All right, Section 3, the planet's lungs. Let's look at how the ocean sustains all life.
The marine ecosystem is absolutely bursting with biological diversity. It's neatly categorized into flora, which is all the plant life, covering everything from microscopic algae to massive underwater kelp forests, and fauna, which covers the amazingly diverse animal species. We're talking everything from colorful tropical fish and sea turtles to dolphins and giant sperm whales.
But the scale of what this marine flora actually does, it's staggering. Without tiny marine plants like algae, we simply wouldn't survive. Why? Because they produce more than half of the oxygen we breathe. Every second breath you take is a direct gift from the sea, making the oceans quite literally the planet's lungs.
On top of that, the ocean is the boss of our global water cycle. Massive cloud formations gather out over the oceans and then travel inward.
Without the evaporation from these waters bringing us life-giving monsoon rains, our agriculture would completely fail, and our continents would turn into lifeless deserts. The oceans literally prevent global desertification by pumping fresh water right back onto the land.
Section 4. Power, Peril, and Legends. The ocean's incredible might and its cultural impact.
With all that life-giving ability comes immense, awe-inspiring power. This cultural reverence is perfectly captured by the Indian Navy's motto invoking Varuna, the ancient Vedic deity associated with the oceans, the sky, and water. For centuries, coastal people have shared legends of sea gods, monsters, and sunken treasures, deeply acknowledging both the boundless blessings and the terrifying dangers of the deep.
Because look, the ocean's raw power can manifest as deadly natural disasters, specifically tsunamis. These form through a rapid, four-step chain reaction. It starts violently when an underwater earthquake or volcanic eruption displaces a huge amount of water. This forms a massive wave. That wave then travels across the open ocean for thousands of kilometers, completely undetected, until, bam, it hits shallow waters and rapidly submerges entire coastal areas.
Tragically, over 2 lakh, or 200,000 lives were lost across 14 countries during the horrific 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, which was triggered by an earthquake over in Indonesia. This devastating loss of life proves exactly why international early warning systems are absolutely critical today. Countries now continuously collaborate to detect these deep-sea anomalies so they can evacuate coasts before disaster strikes.
Which brings us to Section 5, Protecting Our Marine World, the Urgent Call to Action.
Knowing how deeply we rely on the ocean for our very survival brings up a really uncomfortable question about our collective behavior. If the ocean is the source of our rain, our climate regulation, and over half our oxygen, how on earth can we justify actively contributing to its decline?
The latest scientific studies paint a pretty grim picture. Human activity is truly devastating these interconnected waters. We're looking at severe overfishing that is actively depleting essential populations way faster than they can ever reproduce. And even worse, we are dumping millions of tons of plastic waste into the water every single year, literally choking the marine life that sustains us and deeply polluting these once pristine habitats. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought. The United Nations set aside June 8th as World Oceans Day to remind us that protecting this biosphere is our collective responsibility. If the globe began with the ocean, will our failure to protect it mean it ends with it? Thank you so much for exploring with us today, and keep asking questions about the amazing world around you.